So we can see chats.
I can only see the chat. So I'll just reiterate their questions if I see things pop up.
Okay.
And then
yeah.
Oh, so do you advise, because it does switch, like whoever's speaking, should we just mute ourselves when we're not? Oh, you're fine. I'll just do that. Okay.
I can actually put it onto where the speakers are. Hi, guys. I know you guys hear us talking. Thanks for popping in. I know that everybody was super excited the fact we have a double dose of superstardom. And I planned it that way because I did their call a couple weeks ago, and I was like, all right, can I have like both of you guys on my call? I'm trying to hook you up before I pop this baby out because I will be taking like a week or so off. But anyway, if you don't already know these two faces, you should because they are two of the top coaches in this entire business. But Tania Barron and Ashlie Molstad are joining us, and I decided to do it rather than giving them a topic and then running with it. We just decided, let's do Q&A style. It's almost, we had a call with Rachel Hollis the other week, and I loved it. I loved that it was like natural. It was just conversational, asking questions, digging in based on what those answers were. And that's exactly what we're going to do right here with these ladies. So for those of you who do not know them, I wanted to have them kind of start from the beginning of their journey, not go through the entire spiel of the story, but I thought it was interesting. We were chatting back and forth prior to the call, and I was getting to know Ashley's story a little bit more. I knew a little bit of Tania's from the call that I did a couple weeks ago. And it's funny because we always, associate people with the first time we ever heard of them. And I remember hearing about you, Ashlie, and I was like, everybody was like, wow, this girl had this viral post, and now she's getting hundreds of success club points. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But you don't know someone's backstory. You don't know the journey that they had to get there. And so I was hoping, seeing as how you are 10-star diamond right now, you were number 2 last year. You were number 2 right now, right? Currently?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have I asked her before the call, I think she said she had 275 Success Club points for May so far. She's got a coach of her own that is number 3 in the company right now, and they both hit 15-star qual on the very same exact week, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
So take us back a little bit before we get into the question side of how the hell did that happen, to get to know how you started with this whole thing.
Yeah, it freaking drives me crazy, and I think it's so annoying when Beachbody is like, well, you had this viral post, so, and I'm like, no, I had the viral post, but I showed up every single day for 4 years before that, and I've shown up every day since. So I think a lot of times people are like, I just need a viral post, and then I'll be fine. But yeah, that's not what you have to focus on. So when I started in 2012, did an insanity challenge group, and my sister-in-law had done it. She did it with somebody had amazing results. I wanted to get in shape for my wedding, so I did it. And she was like, "Well, if you're gonna buy the challenge pack, you should be a coach." And I'm like, "For sure, that's not happening. Because my parents did Melaleuca when I was growing up, and I remember them having people at the house and buying all this product, and it was expensive, and then they never did anything with it. So that's what I had in my head of this kind of, I didn't know the term MLM or network marketing, but so I was not interested. But then I did her Insanity Challenge group, and I loved it. And then Asylum 1 and 2 were coming out, and I'm a bargain shopper. So I was like, okay, there's a discount. And that was before bots. You had to buy all the programs individually. So I signed up, and I was too nervous to really share this on my page. And I just decided it was all I wanted to talk about, really. So that's why I opened my Foodie Girl Fitness page before I was even really wanting to coach, just as a way to be accountable. And I was reading a lot of blogs at the time. So I was kind of started making my page off of the blogs that I liked reading. So the blogs that I liked were just lifestyle, they shared their meals every day and what their workouts were and what they were doing. And so that's kind of what I did, was my daily accountability journal on my page. And then people started asking for help, and then I started helping them, and then I started seeing the paychecks. And at the same time, I was kind of dealing with, I was seriously dealing with depression and insecurity, and having people say thank you for changing my life made such an impact on my, oh my gosh, I matter. I'm actually making a difference here. So then feeling like I mattered, paired with loving Beachbody, paired with seeing the income that comes from helping people, I was like, well, I already love this. Why not actually decide to work it? So I had been showing up really for almost every day, probably of 2013, as just kind of like for fun. And then in the beginning of 2014, I was like, well, I'm just going to see, like, I've had some good success playing with it. What happens if I really decide to work? So in 2014 is really when I consider myself having like started, and I've shown up every single day since. And, you know, I think I mean, in the beginning, I was hitting Success Club 10 to 20, maybe 30, like 6 months in or something. I wasn't hitting any numbers like this, but I was working full time. I ended that year as a premier coach, and then the next 3 years I've been elite, but I worked full time. And I think I was a 6-star diamond before I decided to leave. Even though I think I was just holding on to my job for security, you know. And then what I took away from Summit, that like 2015 Summit, was if I'm going to go all in on this business, I have to go all in on this business. And that's when I went back and I gave my notice to my job. And then, and I had a little bit of a dip when I left because I had some limiting beliefs. And I thought, if I show up 100% and my business doesn't grow, then it's my fault because I'm working really hard and nothing's happening. But if I don't really show up and my business doesn't grow, then I can't blame it. I mean, it's just because I'm not showing up. And then I went to Tony Robbins and he changed everything. And I realized, like, might as well just freaking go all in and show up every day and work your, you know, butt off and see what you can do. And if you fail, then you fail, but at least you've tried. And that was the middle of 2016, I think. And that is really when, like, everything changed. The viral post I put up in November of that year. It was November of that year. And ever since then, you know, on average, I'm getting like 300 Success Club points or something. Last month was insane. It was we had like 600 points, which was like just like nuts. But they're not all like that. But yeah, it's like crazy when people think like, oh, how do you get a viral post? And I'm like, you're focusing on the wrong things. You don't need a viral post. You need to show up and serve your community. And so I would show up every day, serve my community. And that's why the viral post happened. I was struggling with self-love and body image at the time. And I figured and you guys have to know, if you are struggling with anything, the people that are watching you are struggling with the same stuff. So like sharing that and being vulnerable. And that's what I did. And it was you know, you guys probably know, you don't put anything good up on like Friday or Saturday because people don't care. This post was put up on a Friday afternoon, like 4 o'clock. It didn't make sense for it to go viral, but I wasn't focused on that. And then what I did was all these people started coming and I was like, shoot, now I have to talk to everybody again. I don't want to lose all these people. And I had to really check myself and be like, no, all of those people are definitely not going to be you have to continue to be yourself because you need to get rid of some of the people that found you that are not your tribe. So I like to swear. So I made sure I put swear words in. I actually never boosted that post because there was one swear word in it. And I didn't want to take that out because I wanted it to turn off some people. I think we're all so focused on like these big numbers on your like page or your Success Club. And it's like, just focus on serving your people. And I think, and this is kind of long-winded, so you can interrupt me, Lindsay, but I just feel like we focus on the wrong things. We're focusing on the numbers instead of focusing on the people. And if you reverse it and you focus on the people, then the numbers just happen organically. That's how I feel.
So what's popping up right now is, okay, well, how do you manage having conversations with like that many people? How do you manage those relationships at that level?
So what we were doing, what I did in the beginning is different than what we are doing now. Obviously, I did a lot of like forming and back and forth and all of that in the beginning. We don't have time for that now. So John, my husband, was taking over my messages since the end of 2016, when that post went viral, basically. So he was doing all the messages, and then I took over when they came into my boot camps, and I just focused on really running solid groups to try to get these people amazing results. So I had to go to 100% scripts, and that's not what I did in the beginning, but that's the only way for us to stay semi-sane. And finally, we just hired an assistant because, you know, now with a newborn, well, she's not newborn anymore, but a 6-month-old, priorities have shifted, and it's just, it's scripting, and then once they make the commitment, then really working with them and trying to help them become Beachbody believers, because that's how I started, was in a challenge group, loving the products. And I figure if I can get these people to love Beachbody, whether or not they're going to coach or they think they are now, eventually maybe they will, if I can make them Beachbody believers. So that's where I focus on. And I can't, I mean, it's still like hundreds of people, so I can't always do one-on-one stuff, but I do weekly calls, like weekly Zoom calls with my boot camp every week. And I try to go live in there every day just so they're getting more personal attention from me, even though it's not one-on-one.
Right. So it's funny because I realize people get fascinated, and you guys, obviously, it's very fascinating when somebody is hitting these high numbers and you want to know, how are they managing all these people, and how do you manage the conversations? It's like, look, dude, you're not in that position, so it's really not a useful use of our time. So I don't want to dig into it too deep, because I was talking to Ashlie before this, and I had a discussion a little bit in the diamond group that I run, that for a lot of us, as we've built up a following, you do sort of get people that just come to you, and they're not always the right people, but you don't have to work. You're not perfectly organized. You don't have a perfect system. You're kind of just winging it. And I think that's a lot of what you said. You know, you just had to do it. You had to learn as you go. You had to find what were the things that only you could do. Where could you really be a rock star and be solid for the people that did want, you know, to have their life changed. And you guys that are just beginning, you have that time to do that one-on-one connection. And you can do it with people when they're just starting out as a customer. There's always going to be things that as your business grows, you're going to have to change it and shift it into a way that it's more manageable, and that it's, you know, people at this point, or for you, they're going to have to earn your time by doing certain things. Of course, you know, you have a coach that's showing up and probably hitting Success Club consistently and is showing that they're actively growing. I'm sure it's more one-on-one, but you can't be one-on-one with every single person that signs up. That's the kind of benefit that you guys have, is you can be at the point that you're in your business. You can be that one-on-one and really help those people. However, I think sometimes we go to the extreme end of that, and we're like, well, we only have this one person, so I'm going to talk to them for 7 hours before they sign up as a coach. So one of the things that also, just leading off, Ashlie, and we'll flop over to Tania, is that, you know, you were saying before you really got super involved with Beachbody or started to show up on leaderboards and stuff like that, it was a lifestyle brand that you were creating. It wasn't, you weren't the typical Beachbody coach. And I think that's still very relevant on your page. So share about that.
Yeah, so I think that that's the biggest place that Beachbody coaches go wrong. I don't follow any Beachbody coaches. I mean, I follow, like, Tanya's my friend, so I follow Tania. You know, I follow my friends, but I don't follow any Beachbody coaches because I think it's very boring. I just feel like it's so the same kind of post, the same kind of style. And Lindsay and I were talking about it. I think probably Lindsay had a lot of success in the beginning too, because she wasn't representing Beachbody. She was like, I mean, yours was a P90X thing, right? So it was like, this is my journey with my health and fitness, and I'm sharing that with you. And that's what I have done. Like, I don't say the name of our programs on my social media. I haven't, like, ever. And people get super annoyed about that, but usually they're like Beachbody coaches that get annoyed. But I don't say the word challenge group. I don't say challenge pack. I don't say any of that terminology. And I talk about me, like, and if someone's like, what program are you doing? I'm like, oh, it's my boot camp that I do. I host these online groups. Like, I'm talking about me, because I was the kind of person who would have, if I saw somebody and I wanted to do what they were doing and they told me the name, I would have Googled it. I would never have reached out to them and said, help me. So I act like I'm the only place they can get that program. And they don't know what it is until I send them the link to enroll. I don't even really say the name of it when I'm in my scripts. Because I also know that I add value in my challenge groups. Like, I do tweak things. And that's one thing I will say too, like, everybody's freaking out about the 2B mindset. Well, at least my people are, because we're kind of anti-scale. So they're like, oh, what are we going to do? Because she requires you to get on the scale. And I'm like, no one's holding a gun to your head. Like, make the program work for you. Just because Beachbody has it packaged this way doesn't mean you have to follow it that way if it doesn't feel true to you. So for you guys, like, yes, you are, representing Beachbody in that they are helping you with customer service and they have their programs, but you can put your spin on things. Like, I didn't believe in fully time nutrition and 80-day obsession. That doesn't work for me, but that doesn't mean, like, I'm not going to share it. I'll share it in my groups, and then I'll tell them how I'm planning on making it work for me. And I'm not like, nobody's going to fire me from being a Beachbody coach. So I just feel like I think coaches are so focused on how can I appeal to these people and like, how can I sell these programs the most? And I just feel like you have to focus on what feels right and true to you and your journey and sharing that with people, but stop underselling yourself and your value, because really you are the prize. And if you don't believe that, you have to start working on your brain more. I remember Scotty Hodge saying that about you, Lindsay, that when he first got on the call with you, like back when he signed up, he thought you were like the recruiter of Beachbody, the way you spoke, right? The way you carry yourself. And I remember being at a Super Saturday and Amy Silverman saying, when I was a team of one, I acted like I could fill a stadium. And so that is the way that before I had any of these numbers that I tried to act. I didn't believe it, but I tried to, faith it till I make it, and act like, oh, you want to be with me. For sure you want to be in my group. Regardless of what program it is that we're doing, you want to work with me. So I think that that's how you have to set yourself apart, is stay true to you and your journey and stop selling Beachbody and start selling your life and your lifestyle and your journey, whatever that means,
So how did you come, because I know that you said you were battling depression. How did you come to find like your ornate value? How did you come to find that, listen, I got some stuff to add to people outside of Beachbody?
Well, personal development, it's kind of like this weird, I guess, train, but one of the most transformative things for me was Brene Brown, The Power of Vulnerability, I think it is. Yeah. And I listened to that, and that's where I first heard about the gremlins. If you guys heard my wake up call where I talk about shining the light on your gremlins. And so I had started to do that. And then you gain trust when you share things that you're normally, you're feeling scared to talk about or scared to put out there into the world. And you feel really vulnerable doing it, you gain trust, because every single person that's watching you has skeletons in the closet, has things that they're ashamed of that they don't want the world to know. And they're like, oh my gosh, her too? Okay. Like, and she's doing this and she's living life. So I started just sharing. And then that is how I ended up putting up that self-love post. And because what I was doing was like twisting and twerking and turning to try to get a good, like,
angle.
Yeah, to show like progress that I'd been making. And I'm like, what the heck? If I am struggling with this, then everybody that's watching me has got to be struggling with this, because I do this for a living. Like, I'm supposed to be fit and stuff. So that's why I did that post, and it was a gremlin post, because I have learned the more I can share my inner struggles and those gremlins, the more people relate to me. And then I realized with that post going viral, how big of a need there was for that. And so I feel like my brand's evolved, and I look back on, on this day, and I used to be the person that talks about only weight loss and summer body goals and all this stuff. And that's just not my brand anymore. But I didn't know that I wanted to have self-love be my brand until it's kind of like a layer where I was learning myself too. And when I saw that there was such a need for that community, and it felt good to me and true to me, that's then where I wanted to start putting my efforts. And now my brand is, built around self-love. But I didn't find that out until 3 years into this or something. It's just constant evolution.
Right. And it's more about you choosing to change yourself and that inspiring other people than you having it all together and having the perfect marketing strategies and having somebody tell you what your brand is. It's like, you have to be willing to just listen to what you're struggling with, work on it, and share that journey out loud. The same way that we share our fitness journeys, we have to share the inside journey, because I think all of us have probably changed more on the inside than we had the outside. All right, very cool. I definitely think that helps. I might come back to you. I just wanted to pop over to my girl, Tania. So your journey was a little bit different. So for anyone who's ever watched any Shanti program, you probably recognize this lady right here. And I remember, well, first of all, Ashlie talks about programs that she avoids. I avoid anything Shanti because it's all cardio. like cardio is not my thing. But I've seen enough to know that she was a rock star, and crazy enough was not in the business, even though you were involved with like Beachbody and the programs and stuff, not in the business until 2013, is that what you said? Okay, so tell me about the beginning part of your journey. You're already involved with like the company Beachbody. How do you then evolve into a coach?
So it's really, it's really funny that when I think back to how long I've been with this company, just on a totally different side. I even remember when the coaching network was being developed, and it was called $1 Million Body.
Wow, you were there at that point?
Yes.
Dang.
In fact, Sean and I, back early days, we used to hang out at Beachbody headquarters, which was in a much smaller office in a different area anyway. And down the hall, they would have meetings all the time about this, what I was thought, network marketing. So I didn't know, ignorant. All I heard was like network marketing. And of course, what do we all think? Pyramid scheme, all those kinds of things, right? I didn't know anything about it. All I know is that they were having these secret meetings down the hall. So then it made it even more suspicious to me. And then I was like, what is this? And I didn't even really understand. So that's just kind of how I always thought about the coaching network. And I still remember to this day when somebody asked me to become a coach, and it wasn't even another coach. This is, I'll get to that in just a moment. I said, no way. I remember exactly verbatim. No way. That's just a crazy cult full of crazy people just trying to sell something. And now I'm in the cult, but whatever. But so that's what I always saw. And here it's so funny, with all of my years in Beachbody, do you know not one person actually asked me or approached me about the coaching opportunity? And it's funny because Danielle Natoni is my direct line came across. She actually later on down the road said, the reason why I never asked you, and this is a lesson that I will always remember, is that I prejudged you. I prejudged you into thinking that you wouldn't want to do something like this because you're Tanya and you're in the videos, and I was too chicken to ask you. It's funny to see that Danielle would be chicken to do anything, but she said she was really chicken to ask me. And so it was a lesson for her to be like, do not ever assume that people aren't interested. I actually went to her and asked her, so what is this coaching thing? So that was August of 2013. And just to condense that story, I had been bankrupt in 2010, like in the bankruptcy court. So not just like broke. Yeah, girl, like broke. I had to live in my girlfriend's condo because we had no money. I couldn't even rent a car. Couldn't do anything. Completely ashamed because my background, I was a professional dancer, living the high life. I danced for Britney Spears for 4 years and was making a great income and doing all these things. And then everything came to a screeching halt and things changed. And then fast forward, I started to build my life back up together, just slowly working, and I was teaching dance convention, just hustling, just trying to make ends meet. And I actually started working for Beachbody corporate in New York City. So here's what's so interesting. But what was interesting at the time is I helped them run their test groups and help develop programs, but I was never technically in-house. I was never like an employee. I was a contractor for them. And so when it came around where there was some budget, reorganization, I found out that my contract was cut in half and I had 30 days to figure out what I was going to do. So here I was living in New York City with New York City bills and New York City life. I had a baby and a family to support. That was what we were doing. We moved to New York. My income was going to support the family. My husband was to stay at home. We had one income and it was about to get slashed in half again. And I had actually 45 days. I had 45 days to figure out what the hell I was going to do for the rest of my 50% of my income. Wow. And when I tell you that panic that sets in when you've been broke before, it just all came crashing down. And I just saw my life go, I'm like, this is it. This is going to happen again. And so a friend of mine said, you should just become a coach. That's the person I was telling you. And I was like, nope, that's just a crazy cult. And so that's how my journey, I started because I actually was desperate for income. That's how I started. However, my friend said to me, you're already a coach. You're not officially a coach. You know that? Like all the people that you're helping with our Beachbody programs, with our test groups, and I would show up every day helping people in person. And they said, coaching's the same thing, just now you have a broader reach. So that's just how it all started. I called Danielle and I said, tell me about this coaching thing. I signed up for $39.95, no challenge, like literally she didn't believe that I was going to really do this. I remember I was sitting in a closet at Beachbody office in a closet where they hang all the workout clothes because I was hiding because I didn't want anyone to hear that I wanted to become a coach maybe. I'm telling you, I really thought that this was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And anyway, so I signed up for $39.95. She didn't tell me. She's going to kill me. But she didn't tell me to like sign up with Shakeology or a challenge. Like, I think she was just really like, is she really going to do this? She might just sign up and whatever. So I called her later and I said, so why am I not active? I don't understand, you know, all those questions when you first sign up. Why am I not active? She's like, well, you need product. I'm like, you mean I have to buy the stuff that I get here at the office? So long story short, I signed up that day, and then she literally just told me, these are the next 5 things you need to do. I had no idea what that meant. She was saying, sign a coach, become Emerald, sell a challenge pack, get a Success Club point. And I was like, really? Oh, I have no idea what that means, but I need to make money, so I'm just going to do what she says. So I was kind of like that, like ideal coach, I guess you could say, that just does what she says. I had no idea what I was doing, but like Ashlie, that faith it till you make it, I was so nervous inside when I became a coach. And what most people believe, I'm the machine. I give off this image of I'm hardcore, I'm super strong, I always have it together. I am pretty anal and organized, I will say that. But in this coaching business, I always felt super insecure for many years, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't think that, but I never showed up that way. I always showed up like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Look it up. Literally, that's how you have to start this business, because there is no plan B. Like, this is the plan B. There's no plan C. Like, this is the plan B for me. So I just took the initiative, and I actually pulled up your videos. You know, I told you about that. I was like, I got to learn this business. And back then, we didn't have what so many of you guys so many coaches get now. You know, we get everything. And back then, it was like, look it up, take notes, figure it out. And so that's just what I did. And I wanted to talk about the struggles I had when I first started coaching. So when I first started, of course, people knew who I was. And, you know, so when I would make a post on social media, yes, people came to me because they knew who I was. I just had a baby as well. So, you know, we all know that babies are great for the business. But I didn't realize that at the time. I was just sharing my life and my journey. And I talked about my struggles as a new mom, but I never really shared anything else about my life for a long time. And so I was getting people in through that attraction marketing, right? But it wasn't because I wasn't, you know, it wasn't just because I threw up a post and then 5 days later I threw up another post. I went all in because, again, I was doing exactly what my coach told me to do. I followed what she did, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm just doing it. And these posts that I made back then were so terrible, but whatever. You know, I actually used the ads, like, you know, whatever, pictures of T25. Join my next challenge group. All the things you're not supposed to do, I did. But my mom's story, and because people now related to me from being the machine that everybody hated in Insanity to becoming the modifier mommy in T25, that was, you know, what helped me. Now, I'm not saying that that's the key to success. Absolutely not. There are a ton of coaches in videos who do not have successful businesses because they're not building it consistently and doing the behaviors that we have to do every single day. So I always felt when I was coaching that I struggled with proving myself that I really was working this business. I still didn't really know what I was doing, but I did my best. So my first year of coaching, I would say my success came from always running challenge groups because that's what I knew how to do. I didn't know how to do anything else. I didn't know how to recruit a coach. I didn't know how to do any of the business. All I knew was I knew how to help people get results. That's all I knew how to do. And guess what? That's what this business is. You know what I mean? So what's funny is my first year, I ended at number 25, and I didn't even know what that meant. And I was like, what is that? I didn't even know. And Danielle said to me, it's because you're just focusing on the right things. I said, well, what are those? You're just helping people get results. I said, well, I can do that. Then I had a lull because then I didn't understand how to be a leader. That was when then things were shifting in the business. Now I'm supposed to start recruiting and getting people to Diamond and do all these things. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I realized, and same thing that Ashlie shared, is I realized there was a piece of my story that I never really shared. And I never really had the guts to share. And I still remember at the time, Kim Lima, if you guys know Kim Lima, we were working together for a while, and she said, you know, people don't really know the real you, and it's a shame. I said, what do you mean? She was, because people just, okay. Oh, he's like, hello. And anyway, so people just don't really know. They think you're just this, you know, girl in the videos who just had it all handed to her. And I really think it's time for you to share that story. And so on my 41st birthday, I remember November 23rd, whatever year that was. I think it was a year 2014. I can't even think of, or 2015, whatever. About a while into my coaching, right? So about a year, maybe a year and a half, I finally decided to share my full story. My struggles of being bankrupt, being a latchkey kid growing up with a single mother, taking care of myself since I was 5 years old. Because all of those things I realized were part of who I was and as what shaped me and molded me. And the minute I shared my story, my entire business changed. Not only did I grow myself, but then I became relatable. And that was where I struggled in the beginning. So, you know, you may, like, you know, people see us now, right? They see the today story. And so I always have to, you know, remind myself and my team is that you got to keep sharing your story over and over and over again, because people just see your highlight reel a lot of times. People just see, or the today you, right? The, you know, all these accolades, or they, you know, you're this elite coach, you're getting these many points, you do all these, but they don't see the road that it took to get there, or the life that you had before. Anyway, sorry, that was kind of a long-winded. So that was my journey into being a coach. I started very differently. I started, you know, because I needed money. I didn't know anything about it. And I just decided to help people lose weight because that's what I knew how to do. And then, but by focusing on those things, that's how my business grew. So it's always remembering going back to those basics, because we always want the next shiny thing. I get it. There's ranks, there's bonuses, there's so many things. There's so many stages we want to be on, but we can't get to those unless we do those basic things. And it's so basic, and we tend to like overcomplicate it so much. And so I truly lead with the program, the workouts, and how it changes your life, because it truly has changed, you know, my life.
So I think what I love most is that you had so much skepticism, even being involved with the fitness side. So like, one, that's normal. Two, the fact that you got into it and you were like tiptoeing a little bit, like, oh gosh, you know, I'm so nervous, when everybody was probably like, oh my gosh, I wish I was Tania the machine, because then it'd be so much easier. But it's scary for all of us. And then three, I will tell you guys, my old sponsor, the person I ended up randomly under, was in the videos. She was in, you know, Insanity. And so she had the same opportunity that Tania did. Not only that, she was given me as a lead, and she literally, quote, quit the business after I was already top coach. So this business is, and that's because obviously, you know, just having one person underneath you that's doing something with business doesn't mean anything unless you actually build the business on the other side, or, you know, continue to build a diamond. But even if she would have got to diamond, $1,200 a week matching bonus would have been what she would have made just being diamond. I mean, I would have called up every family member I had, but can't build it for people. So just know that it's not necessarily about having the perfect circumstances or the perfect credibility or the perfect viral post or whatever. And this is kind of where I want to lead the conversation, because I think this is probably the most important part. Is great. You know, Tania the machine, all of a sudden she's starting to get it. She's coming into her own. She's sharing her story, and that's amazing. And obviously it is one of the biggest, for me, it's that shattered that glass ceiling for me when I shared about my bankruptcy. It was probably about a year into the coaching business. Same thing. I thought, oh my gosh, if people find out about these failures, they won't respect me as a leader. They will think I'm a fake, a fraud. I'm, you know, this or that, whatever, all your insecurities, those gremlins that Ashlie talked about. As you start to do that, you realize, oh my gosh, people don't hate me for these things. They love me for these things. Oh my gosh, people don't like the perfect me. That person sucks because she doesn't actually exist. And you're able to let go of that. But then what's the next piece is, and obviously with this business, is duplication. It is, okay, so we have done that. Now we have people that are coming to us and we're getting success club points, and that's awesome. But let me tell you guys on the call, if you want to build this as a retail business, it is going to be a slow, long, drawn out process. You have to duplicate and find your tribe, and you've got to be able to then empower those people to take those same steps that you did, and some will, some won't. But can you guys, maybe Ashlie, we'll start with you and we'll toggle back to Tania. How do you then go from, okay, now I have these people, but people that sign up as coaches, how do you duplicate if they don't have the same experience that you did or the same network at that point?
So I feel like I suck at this, at duplication. I think as coaches, we always have to be evolving and learning. And actually, they asked me to do a training tomorrow on leadership. And it was like, what's the best leadership advice you've ever been given or something like that? And I was thinking about it. And I don't know if it was advice I've been given, but leadership lesson I've learned is to just always be learning, and you never know who you're going to learn from. So last year, guys, I ended number 2 in the network. And I had 25 leadership development points. And that was because I made John a team leader. So I didn't help my team at all last year, and it sucked and it felt really empty. And I think people thought like, oh, it's cool, you're top 10, that's great. But it was a retail business, it felt like. I mean, we were elite, so we had some diamonds, but Shakeology is awesome. Fitness programs are great. They've definitely changed my life. The thing that's changed my life more than anything is the coaching. And so I wanted to help my team feel that. And so this has been like a year of really like diving in and changing everything. And I was still focused 80% on my personal and 20% on my business. And if most of you are new coaches, did I say 20 on my personal and business? I meant 20% personal and then team, or 80% personal, 20% team, which is where you should be if you're a new coach and building. But if you want to develop leadership, you have to kind of dive more into your team, and don't neglect your personal business, of course. But I was listening to, like, in the Beachbody Champions page at the beginning of the year, they had us, I think you did it too, Lindsay. They asked us like the same questions, like the top 10 coaches or something. And my answer for how much do you spend on your team versus your own business was 80-20, personal team. And Melanie's was reverse. Hers was 80% team, 20% business. And so I just started like, okay, I need to shift. And then I started like just failing over and over and over again, because that's the only way to learn. So then the reason that I am seeing team success right now is because my one coach, Emily, she's new and she's fresh. She's never been elite before. And I have learned so much from her. She's taught me like her onboarding system, how to like breathe belief into people. And she's technically below me, right? But she's teaching me so much. So I feel like you have to continue trying, continue learning, and don't ever think that because maybe someone's on your downline that they can't teach you something. But I have learned about, because with these numbers, it was kind of like, I don't even know where to start. How do I start helping people? And one thing that Emily was doing that was really working was seeing people that were showing up by recruiting coaches and hitting Success Club and putting them on tech strands. And I was like, well, how do I even decide who to put on a tech strand? And then I was like, well, just stop thinking and just do it. So then I just put people in tech strands, like 6 to 10 people in a tech strand. And just the fact then they're like, oh my gosh, you know who I am? Okay, let's talk. And they feel special. And I did put people in who were deserving of my time, which we talked about already. So in the beginning, I did do one-on-one calls. When I didn't have a big team and big recruitment numbers, I did one-on-one calls. I spent as much time as I could really working on people. And now, as your organization grows, you guys will have to put systems in place, because there'll always only be one of you. And there will, if you're here 5 years from now, be a huge organization under you eventually. So put systems in place and then decide who gets your time. And if people are hitting Success Club and recruiting coaches, then I decided to start working with them and breathing belief into them, and also making people challenge their limiting beliefs. So what happened was I realized that Summit qualification for rank advancement, or for recognition at Summit, was like this next week. Back in whenever that was, 6 weeks ago. And so I looked at my downline and I said, who is showing up? Who is proving that they can get results based on just, helping people doing what they need to be doing to move their businesses forward? And I put them on a strand and I said, this might be a long shot, because it was Friday. And that next Thursday they needed to be diamond. But I was like, love this team to be recognized as a 10-star team. I had been a 7-star diamond for like 2.5 or 3 years. No advancement. limits, really. And 5 of them turned. I put 7 of them in there, and 5 of them went diamond that next week. And it's because they started working with each other. And then once one person hits it, they're like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And I think that that is something you have to constantly be challenging, is your own limiting beliefs. Because I had started getting into the pattern of like, well, I can't lead people. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no history of that. No, but it's like, just because you haven't done that, maybe you aren't hitting huge success numbers. Maybe you're not even hitting Success Club at all. But just because you're not hitting it or you're not hitting high numbers doesn't mean you never can. So then I started challenging myself and like, well, why can't I? Why can't I be a leader? It's just a story I've been telling myself, but I can change that story. So now I believe, right? And then I started another tech strand, and that's how, when we got 10-star in a week, I was like, well, let's maybe shoot for superstar. Let's just see what we can do. And I gave them 2 weeks, I think, for that, maybe 2.5, put them in a tech strand. They started working. And when they see other people doing it, that have those same doubts and fears, then they start being like, well, me too, me too, me too. And you just have to keep raising your standards and just questioning those limiting beliefs of, why can't I? I mean, Emily came to me in December. She's like, what should my Success Club goal be? If I want to shoot for top 10 this year, what should my goal be? And she hit like 180 in December, taking time off for the holidays. And I'm like, well, 200 for sure. Because you didn't even work the whole month, like hit 200, raise your bar. And she was like, crap, I don't know if I can do this. And now 200 is her baseline because you smashed those limiting beliefs. So, and you don't need to do that. But like, if you think Success Club 10 is hard, just make it happen. Like, challenge that limiting belief, and then that will be your baseline. And then soon 20, and then 30, and 50 is your baseline. And like, I don't ever settle for less than like 250 anymore, just because I know that there is enough people out there that need our help, and I don't have that limiting belief anymore. So that's probably not the answer that you were looking for, but I'm in the evolution stage right now. I'm learning how to be a leader myself. And maybe in 2 more years, I will have great training on this, but I am in the learning stages.
I think that's actually exactly what I wanted to hear, is that, you don't have it all together. It's not this perfect flowing system. And specifically what you said about just, it is constantly addressing your limiting beliefs, because we all have them. We all have certain caps of like, I know right now it's crazy. I have I don't know if it's ESP, whatever it's called, but I can hear the people on the call. Like, they're not commenting this, but I can hear the voices that they're having. They're like, the baseline's 250. I mean, just like, I feel it, guys. Okay. But that's a limiting belief. That is your limiting belief, that is virtually impossible, because you're like, I have messaged at one point 50 people, and one person got back to me and said maybe. And so you had in your head, that is the story you're telling yourself, and that's what you're going to attract. And it is crazy, but that stuff is true, because I used to have the same thing, that Success Club 10 was hard at the beginning of my business. It was very difficult. Who's going to sign up? I don't have any more people. I've already run through all my people, all those stories. And the more you tell yourself that, this shows up. It's really hard. And then, you just level up and level up and level up, and to the point where it's like, okay, what am I not capable of if I just challenge myself? And it shifts. And it's like, now I believe whatever my little brain comes up, how you have those crazy thoughts that run through your head. Like, one day I could have $100 million. And then my brain's like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And then, hell no, I could have $100 million easily. I could build a business, $100 million business. I could be a billionaire. Anything that I put my mind to, I can do. That's coming from a girl who legit had failed everything she's ever done before, up until I started this. Yeah. And so just understand that this is you against yourself. This is why it's the hardest business. And it's the most frustrating sometimes, because all the people you attract are the annoying versions of yourself until you bust through those annoying versions, until you bust through them personally. They keep showing back up. But I'm telling you, like, you'll see, I know, Ashlie, you're continuing to evolve, and it's going to be, I look at Emily, and you guys look similar, and people wonder that about like Bonnie and I and Brittany look at, and yes, I don't know why they show up just with blonde hair too, but they're not only similar in looks, they're similar in like, they are me. They have like my story. They have my personality in a lot of ways. So Anyway.
One thing I want to add, and then go to Tanya, but what you were saying about limiting beliefs. If you guys aren't listening to the Life Coach School podcast, that's been the biggest game changer for me recently for last year. But I listened to a podcast last week talking about these limiting beliefs, and she was like if you guys have this goal, like you want to be a diamond coach or you want to hit Success Club 10, and that seems out of the realm of possibility right now, she talks about like that's your first place of going wrong, is you're like, how is this possible? And she's like, you don't need to know how, who, when, what. You just need to believe. Your only job is to believe that it's possible, and then put the work in to back it up. You don't need to know where Success Club points are coming from, who's your emerald, and this and that and the other. You just have to believe. That's your first thing, because if you don't believe it, it's never going to happen. But start with belief, and then to put the work in to back it up, and it will happen.
Love it. Yes, and that podcast is incredible. All right, so Tanya, you started out. We heard, your story about, you obviously knew the programs worked. It was legit as far as that side of it goes. You're starting to grasp, okay, the coaching side is legit, and this is what I'm going to use to change my life. And then the struggle is like, now I've got to instill that same belief in my team. Like, how do I then transform from this fitness nutrition expert to now leading other people to do the same thing? So what was that like?
So that was my biggest struggle when I first started was, okay, how am I going to duplicate, like, how do I teach people to do exactly what I'm doing? Because not everybody's in videos. Not everybody's had this background with, training people and doing all these things. And I really felt so insecure and just thought, I don't know, what do I do? But I did know that I really wanted my business to grow, and I had to figure it out. So I did the old school. When I took a pen and paper out and I started watching. I just started learning as much as I could from other leaders in the business, because I didn't have, and you may hate me for saying this, guys, I'm sorry, but I didn't have the I didn't invite personally. Like, I didn't do like the cold invites. I never had to do that. So here's where it bit me in the booty, was now how do I teach my people, my coaches how to do that? They're not just going to throw up a post and people are going to just go, me, I want to join. Sign me up. I signed up. Did you know I signed up? Right? That easy. No, I'm not saying it's been that easy, but you know what I mean? Is that, how do I teach them how to do this? So I did some heavy researching, watching YouTube videos, learning, reading that back office back when it was super ugly, and learning as much as I could. And then going back to my coaches and going, hey, now how can I make I just had to create a system, right? So I'm very anal organized and I like systems, but I never had them. So where do I go from there? Like, I didn't know what to do. So I just said, well, I'm just going to create my own. And if it works, great. If not, then we'll just tweak it and go along. So I started with the basics. What do they need to do first? They have to do a program. They have to commit to a program, like these basic things. But yet it was interesting how many people weren't committing fully to a program from start to finish. Not only drink their Shakeology, but are you talking about it in a way that's not creepy and weird, right? Not taking this photo, with your shake. Like, how do you share that authentically? I share the fact, I can't tell you how many Shakeologies I've sold by telling people that it makes me poop. They're like, you had me at poop. I say that. I'm like, it totally makes me like regular, legit. So teaching my team, okay, those are the basics. What else do they need to do? Okay, they have to read personal development. I wasn't doing that for a while. I thought I had no time. My business completely changed. We've all heard it a million times the minute I committed to that. Okay, so now I got to get them plugged into personal development books. Start asking coaches, what are you guys suggesting? I didn't know anything. I wasn't reading anything. So these are all the basic things, right? But some of the things I didn't have to do for my own business. So I just went back down to the basics. Okay, this is what they need to do. And now, are you sharing it publicly? How are you doing that? So I really just had to, I wasn't spoon feeding. So there was another part of my issue too, is I really was, because no one ever, I just learned it on my own. No one taught me, but I wanted to learn on my own. So I kind of felt like, well, if I learn on my own, they should too. Not like that, not bratty like that, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I did it on my own. So I'm going to give you my systems and then you just run with it. Like, you should be able to take this now and just go build a business and be successful. No, I worked hard to create systems, but do they all do it? No. right? But again, you have to realize you don't have control over what they do, but you do need to provide leadership. So then now going to like what Ashlie said was, okay, now I got to connect with my coaches more. I need to spend some one-on-one time with them and find these people and ask them, do you want to run with me? Now, I'm not where I want to be yet, but this is where I'm going and this is where I want to be. And I want you guys to come with me. So who's in? And so then I finally learned, like, that was my first step in leadership. I was like, oh my God, I actually like asked people to do this with me instead of me just being my own diamond all the time, right? Like, right? Like your first diamond's your husband and then it's your best friend. And then you then you create your third self. You're like, great, I'm a big party of 5 diamond on my own, right? And so exactly. So connecting sisterhood. We had some dudes too at the beginning, but like, just creating. So then I started that whole, I know we all use the Fit Fam, but I really did instill that in my team. And we are such a tight knit family so that when I decided, okay, I've got to help people come up. So we're just going to get in a private group, get in a private thread. And then I just got to show my vulnerabilities that, guys, I'm still learning too. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this together. And so I think that's where sometimes we go wrong. We think we have to put this leadership hat on and know it all. And no, do it together. If you're a new leader, if you got one person under you, you're a leader now. It's okay to say, okay, we're going to do this together. And I think that has been the most empowering thing for me in my business is growing as a leader is locking arms with your team and deciding that you're going to do this and so much more. And there's such a tight family with that. And now it's like people then there's that FOMO, right? So now people see you locking arms with your leaders, not to say that you ignore everybody else. Of course, that's not what we mean. But you create that upper level of like, okay, now people see what they want to achieve. They want to be arm in arm with you in that photo. They want to be invited to that retreat. They want to be in that squad photo. So how do I get there? So that for me has been the biggest change in my business was creating that community and showing people what's possible, but by also showing that I'm learning too, and we're going to do it. I'm still there. Like even today, I called I called Lori Stewart today and I was like almost in tears. I'm like, I feel like a crappy leader because this and this. And I think we all go through that.
Totally.
And then you take a moment to step back and go, no, I may not be a crappy leader, but I sure would like to learn more how to be better. And so that's just like that constant thing you have to tell yourself is like, how can I step up, but also be okay with showing your vulnerabilities. And that's, again, where I struggle. I'm a performer, right? Like I know how to put on a show, but like, don't you dare ask me about my real self. You get what I mean? So that's those are my gremlins, like being, and now that I'm much more free. I don't care. I'm in pajamas. Like I'm in pajamas, but I did put on lipstick. But you know what I mean? Like now I love being unapologetically, authentically me, and that I'm still the machine. I'm still that hardworking, hustling mama who struggles her booty off still and still puts in the work day in and day out. And I think looking at Ashlie or anybody that you see their names up on the leaderboards a lot, you think that it's just handed to you, and it's not. We still do the same. We're still running groups every single month. We're still doing all the stuff we did in the beginning times 10 because now we have a team. And so my biggest piece of advice for stepping up into that leadership role, if you're feeling insecure, I think you're always going to feel a little bit insecure as a leader because, when people don't reach goals, you automatically feel responsible for it. And that's something that you can't do. And just continue to lead by I know it sounds cliche, but by example. Like you want to be, what's your vision and where do you see yourself? Now, help your team believe that they can do that too. Like just cheer them on. And by them seeing you do it, it's just, they see you going for it, getting more people involved, getting more people in the team that they just kind of through osmosis, I guess, right? That's why it's still so important that to be a leader, you really have to be that example like we do for our kids, so.
No, I love that. And both of you guys were resourceful. Ashlie, we didn't mention this before, but Ashlie signed up under, was it your sister-in-law? And is on a dead leg. So her sister-in-law never has really done anything with the business. And therefore she's kind of in a similar spot that I was in. And so we all have our Achilles heel. We all have that thing that we had to work through. It's not that there's any one track that's perfect, but I think the beautiful thing about this conversation is that it was being vulnerable. It was about owning, you know, where you had shortcomings, being resourceful about fixing those things. I mean, taking ownership of the fact that the only person that's going to change those circumstances is you. There's not anything that your upline or lack thereof can do. And really, it's just, for me, has been like taking ownership of, okay, I am going to cut the path, and it's probably going to be the path that's a little bit harder to cut to make it easier for the person behind me. And that's what I'm always focused on doing when I have struggles in the business, or if you guys are dealing with struggles and you're coming to me with them, I'm like, okay, what can I do to make this better, to make it a little easier on you guys? And you should be doing the same thing for the people behind you. Just real quick, we have like 4 minutes left. Rapid fire answers, but what's the biggest tip if you had to help pick one to help motivate your team? One tip. What works? What works for like helping them to hit Success Club? Let's say they're at 4 right now and we have 10 days left.
I'm a preacher instead of a teacher because I think your mind makes or breaks everything. So if your team is struggling to hit Success Club or something and you're trying to motivate them, I think you have to go in there and explain, like, to build a business, it starts like, you don't get to elite without first having a strong foundation. You don't build a house without, you know, making sure you're hitting Success Club. And it doesn't have to be huge numbers at first. It's just the bare minimum. And, you know, people focus on diamond. If you're not hitting Success Club, then you don't focus on diamond, you focus on Success Club. So at the end of the month, like where we are now, is when I'll start going into my team and I will send them a message, congratulate them for helping 1 or 2 lives or whatever. And then ask them, you know, how it's going for the rest of the month. Are they shooting for Success Club? And so I'll reach out and sometimes I'll do another success, like those texts. I'll do little pods and put them in a text strand on Facebook. Usually, sometimes I do text with those. And then the cool thing about that is they'll help motivate each other. It's the same as like having people advance to diamond. I've noticed if one person hits Success Club, it makes it more possible for the others. So putting them in little pods. And then I'll also usually go live in my team page and talk about how like Success Club's a decision. And I would be knocking door to door, signing up every family member I know before I would miss a month. And that is how it's been since way back when, since I started. So those are the things that I do towards the end of the month to try to motivate people to hit it.
Love it. Let's see. In the beginning, Tanya, maybe you can answer this. In the beginning, what was the main thing you did to get traction and really start hitting your goals?
Right away, I led with challenge groups. That is my #1 jam and still is to this day. And I run them exactly the same way, hopefully better. But that's exactly what I do. I run challenge groups. I've never missed a month of running them. And I just had to get creative with like, back then, we didn't have so many programs. We had like 2, you know, when we first started. So I led with the challenge groups and showing not just my results, because I had results, but not as significant as others. So like showing other people's results. So I really led with program and challenge groups and getting results. And I still lead with that. And that seems to be my bread and butter.
Yeah. And I think we all mentioned fake it till you make it. I was always talking about where I was going. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have results yet. But like Ashlie said about Scotty, I talked about it so much with so much confidence that people thought I was already there. I never told them I was there. I didn't claim I was anything that I wasn't. But I definitely spoke my future. And
for sure. Like speaking with confidence, like with posture. I think that's a better way to say it, because sometimes we don't have that confidence yet. And I sure didn't in this business. I did not have that. You know what I mean? But I had posture. But inside, I was dying inside. So, yeah. But then, and I still teach my team this, because when they struggle still, right? People just don't want Shakeology. People don't want this, or they don't want this. I'm like, are you sharing what you love? And so that's why when I recruit people, even because before I used to recruit anybody, I didn't care. But now I'm like, no, you have to love this. And because that's the only way I've learned that you're going to be able to build this. You have to love it, or start the process and see if you love it. You know what I mean? Because I know we get people to sign up with the discounts and whatever. But at the end of the day, if you really want a life, you know, a sustainable business, it has to be based off of your passion that you really do love this. So.
Well, I think that's perfect. I think that's a perfect way to end things. One, I would say if you're struggling with vulnerability, just like Ashlie said, Brene Brown, Power of Vulnerability is an amazing, they have it on YouTube. You can go Google it right now, watch it. It'll start to uncover some of the ways that you've held back. And that typically, beyond any knowledge about this business, because I don't think any of us had a clue what we were getting ourselves into, you have to work on that part first. If there's any one suggestion, I think all three of us could agree on, it's you are the one thing stopping you. It is not that you don't understand anything specific about the Beachbody business. It's not even your network. I know that sounds like a lie because you think it's like, oh my gosh, if I only had 1,000 followers, life would be so much easier. It's not that, because you could have 10,000 followers, and if you're not really honing in on those things that, you know, Ashlie and Tania mentioned, it's just, there's too much noise out there. You don't cut through. And so you've got to cut through first and foremost through your own stuff, and then use that not to like go and vent to the world, but it's to heal other people. You're going to be the answer to someone else's prayer. You're the one that gets to be the person that says, hey, I understand where you're coming from, like the Me Too thing. There's power in that. And there's so many people out there that feel alone, that I know some of you guys that have felt like you're the only one that's experienced some of the things that you've experienced. And it's such a lie. It's such a way that you get held back in life. And if you do that one thing, whether or not you become a 7-star, 3-star, 1-star like Tania, or a 15-star qual or whatever, you will be successful in Beachbody because it forced you to go and change on the inside first and go and radiate that. So anyway, were you gonna jump in?
I was, and I know we're keeping you guys long.
Yeah.
I've been sharing a lot in my sneak peeks, and it's resonating. So I just wanted to talk about it with you, and it's on these. I think a lot of times as Beachbody coaches, what you're thinking now is, oh, I have to sell. I have to sell, sell, sell. I don't think our job is to sell Beachbody. I think our job is to become our best selves, to figure out what lights us up. Beachbody is my solution. That does not mean it's going to be everybody else's solution. It's not my job to make everybody fall in love with Beachbody. It's just my job to share it with them and say, you know, here's what worked for me. And so I sign up a ton of coaches. I do discount for everybody. And then I get a ton of cancellations and I get a ton of inactives. And that's okay, because it's not for everybody. But what I hope to do is be a lighthouse to like shine light on the other people that are in the dark, because I have found what works for me. And you guys have to take the pressure off of selling anything and just figure out how to be lit up, how to be that lighthouse for people, because there are people out there just swimming in the dark and they need the lighthouse, right? They need to look at you and be like, I want what she's got. And then maybe they do they buy from you, whatever, they get what you have and they're like, actually, this isn't for me. That doesn't say anything about you and your ability to be a coach. It just means this isn't for them. Cool, move on, because there's more people out there. It's not our job to sell Beachbody to everybody. We don't need everybody being a Beachbody believer. We just need to be 100% believers ourselves, be a lighthouse and say, this is what worked for me and I can help you with this system, and then not take it personal when they decide it's not for them. But you will find people that it is for. But anyway, I think just focus on becoming a light and radiating that outward, and people are attracted to that. So
boom. This mic drop. That's so it. Guys, seriously, take the pressure off yourself. We all have people cancel on us. I get so many of those cancellations, I don't even know. I don't even check them anymore. And I never look at that as a failure. Please do not look at someone canceling as a coach as a failure, or someone returning a challenge back as a failure. Like, you don't know. It's not your responsibility to predict their future. It's to give the best of yourself, and that's it. And I feel like I've had people quit and they've gone on to go after their passion of theirs. And they will say, like, you actually inspired me to have the courage to go and do that. That is a success. That is awesome. And I should, just because it's not directly impacting me, take the ego out of it. Stop making it about yourself and make it about others. Like Ashlie said at the very beginning of this call, and all of a sudden, the people that are meant to be in your business, they start showing up because you're not so caught up in that bullshit story that you're telling yourself of like, I'm a bad leader because this person canceled. No, they just weren't called to this, and that's A-okay. So yeah, take that off yourself and be that lighthouse. That is amazing. I loved it. Girls, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I appreciate it. We'll have to do more of this for sure. And guys, thank you for popping in. We're not going to have a call up next week. I know we normally do the last Monday of the month. I got some babies to have. And then you guys will be at Summit, so we'll celebrate after that. So enjoy that time. And thank you again, girls. I loved it, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.